Hey guys, welcome to another episode of VTT's Book Club. I'm your host Lynn, and I'm joined here with Dave and Monica. So we've been reading the Asset Mindset by Daniel Fielding, and it's a really great book. We've been discussing it. We discussed chapter 1 through 3 for our first meeting. Then our second meeting was chapters 4 through 7, and now we're going to be discussing chapters, what is it?
7 through 9.
7 through 9. Okay. So I had a brain fart. So the second meeting is 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. And then this is the third meeting, 7, 8, 9. That's why it confuses me, because you got to count that one chapter also. So just to recap a little bit about last week, we talked about let's see, having a strong work ethic, right? Taking ownership of your actions, and how you kept motivation for something that you thought was near impossible, but was able to do it, and having the fucking attitude that just to accept your fate. Like if something bad is going to happen, it's going to happen, but either way, accept it and give your 100%. So that was chapter 4 and 5. And then on chapter 6, he's talking about embracing the suck and taking ownership of your problems and giving your heart. Have heart in what you do. And that's part of the asset mindset. So this week in chapter 7, he starts off with talking about being on a team and how that can be a key to survival or success. So like he was talking about his teammates, how he was surrounded by strong, powerful men with strong mindsets and a high caliber, and that birds of a feather flock together. Right? Who's heard that saying in the military? I have.
In the military, sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they say that a lot. They say perception is reality. Unfortunately, they say that, and who you hang out with defines what kind of person that you are, or what kind of soldier or sailor or airman or Marine or coastie, whatever they call them. It defines who you are, right? And that's not necessarily true, but those people that you hang out with have a big influence on your life, right? So
absolutely. I think you start hearing that from your parents as a kid too.
Right.
Yep. Guilty by association or accredited by association.
Exactly. And then who remembers their parents telling you that not everybody's your friend, right? You learn that the hard way, that not everybody's your friend, but you take it in stride, and you learn from that with your asset mindset. So you have to keep that positive attitude, right? Fielding says that the positive attitude is contagious. So is a negative attitude. So the people you hang out with, we've talked about this before. If you're having a negative day and you show that, then like that kind of does a domino effect and a ripple effect to everyone else. Right, Dave?
Yeah. So I call it FIBA, that false enthusiasm with the bullshit attitude. That false enthusiasm part. Even whenever things seem to be not going your way and you're having a crappy day, take it, but still be enthusiastic, be happy, because especially in relationship to the team, that's going to rub off on, and especially if you're a leader, that's going to rub off on the other team members. And they're going to say, hey, we're in a rough situation. But look at Dave over there, or look at Monica over there. She's doing a great job. Is she keeping that positive attitude? But and sooner or later, things are going to change for you. But a negative attitude, and it gets back to one of the things I said, talked about in the last meeting, is when we were given a crappy mission, we'd sit down and do our mission analysis. I'd only give the people about 5 minutes to whine, and then you got to throw all that negativity out, because we got to focus on the mission, or else it's just going to be going to feed on of itself. And
it's going to weigh everybody else down.
Yep.
They won't be able to focus. Exactly. So keeping that positive attitude. And then you might come, and he said that's also in the book, you might come to the realization that you don't have the right group of friends or the right group of teammates, you know. And I remember when I first got out of the Navy, I had to find other people to hang out with. And I moved to not such a Navy town. You know, I was in Galveston, then I was in Houston. And then I was thinking about it, you know, I was thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to be when I grow up? Do I want to be successful, or do I want to hang out around a bunch of kids partying all the time that don't really have any direction? So I ended up meeting some friends who worked at NASA, and I end up meeting like doctors and scientists and stuff. And like, I felt like I didn't fit in, but I still hung out with them, and I made myself like act like I did. So I
Cool.
made myself kind of part of that team, you know, because I was like, okay, I have to. And I switched my mindset. I said, I have to get out of that mentality where I'm just going to be stuck partying or stuck, you know, being down. I'm going to have to do something with my life, because at the end of the day, the Navy's done. I'm done with the Navy. I have to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? And am I going to stay moving on up, or am I going to keep myself down and go back to the old ways, you know, before the Navy, which was bad stuff. Right. So he talks about having to learn how to switch that type of friends, or that type of group, or that type of team. Have you guys ever gone through that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I know. I just keep thinking back to things that I've heard and things that I've read from people who are at the top of their field. They said, you know, when you're at the bottom of your field, surround yourself with the people at the top. Surround yourself with the people and influences that you want to be or become. And that's where your focus will wind up being. So it was kind of funny, because I think every generation rebels a little bit against whatever their parents did, whether it was good or bad. And I have sort of hippy dippy PhD professors, you know, left wing, not saying I'm not left wing or right wing, but you know, really like tree hugging, granola eating professors in Southern California. And I ran off and joined the military, and that was my rebellion, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas I may have gone and hugged trees if they were military, who knows, you know? But I recognize now, the older that I get, you know, that influence that I had from my parents being professors, and the people that I had as influences growing up, were so like invaluable to what I want now in my life.
And in my case, I've been very fortunate in that even from high school through college, through uh, all the degrees that I got, and on all my jobs, I've been surrounded by very motivated people. And there were some people that, you know, were very self-centered, but for the most part, they were all team oriented. I was always in the reserves and the guard. I was a pharmaceutical scientist. I was testing drug products when I first started out in the pharmaceutical industry, in addition to being the engineer in the Army. So I was always surrounded by you know, a group of people, fortunately, that were always, you know, trying to do more for others, being more for seeing the bigger picture of the world. So
Right.
where I see it,
You're fortunate. You're fortunate.
I don't know if that was by because my high school class, I think it started there. Truthfully, you know, we were all. It was very competitive, but it was a very constructive competition where we were trying to do well together.
Right.
That's great.
Anyway, and you just got to find that and be able to recognize where you're in the when you're in a bad situation or with a bad crowd to pull out to get
Right.
out of there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've learned a few hard life lessons with having to break up from long-term platonic relationships that I realized were just holding me back.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do when you have decades of emotions together, you know, but I think it's better for both people when you do. It's hard though.
And I try to guide people, and especially my kids, my children right now, they're young adults. I'm like, who are you hanging out with? Are they good people? What do they
Right.
want to do? What's their drive? What's their motivation? And then I said, well, especially my daughter, she's in the medical field. I said, I don't know if you, instead of saying you're hanging out with the wrong people, I'm like, well, why don't you come golfing with me? Every person that I meet there on the golf course is awesome. And they're having a good time. And the last 4 guys I hadn't got getting paired with were, in their residency programs at one of the local hospitals. I'm not playing matchmaker, but that's the different type of people that she's used to hanging out with.
Right. They stay active. Well, the people at the golf course stay active. They have time to think, and when they have walking, and they got time to meditate about what's going on, or sip on their beer and just enjoy being outdoors. And that's actually that he talked about that in chapter 8.
Yep, that's 8.
Yep. Well, yeah. So going back to having the people surrounding you that always lift you up, Dave. What I learned in my time in the Navy is that our upper leadership always tried to lift us up, or told us, helped us try to advance, because in the Navy, in order to advance, you got to study. You actually have to take a test and know some stuff, or just be lucky in taking tests, right? So that's one part of advancing. And so they would do what they can and give us publications, or what they call bibliographies, to be able to get the resources that we needed to be able to move on up. Or if you did a career board and you said, hey, this is what I want to do, and then you had a good mentor, we had mentor programs, they would actually help you through your career, your Navy career or military career, to reach your goals. So
that's awesome.
And I brought that with me to the civilian world. And so whatever I know, I try to teach my teammates at work, at school, at the gym, here at home. I try to teach them what I know, so that way, if I'm gone, nobody's left behind, or they know what to do. So you said, Monica, about you had to break up some long-term relationships with friends or whatnot. And that reminds me of the saying that there's seasons, reasons, and a lifetime, right? Why people come into your life. And so that brings up the point where Fieldings is talking about lifetime teammates or temporary teammates. So when you're saying that you had your parents, that's a lifetime teammate. That's the duration of your life that you can count on them, and they'll be positive and lift you up. And then temporary could be someone like a mentor or something like that. But he used the special forces guys as an example, that the Army was only one part of his life. And it eventually was going to end. You can only ride that train for so long, but you did what you can for the team. You accomplished what you needed to accomplish. And then now it's time to move on. Right. And every person in your team has something different to offer also. So go ahead, Dave.
No? I just agreed with you.
Okay. So everyone in the team has something different to offer, right? Somebody might have a different specialty, or even in the house, you might have somebody who's a good cook. You might have somebody who's good at doing the lawn or doing laundry, right? So everyone has their own specialty, even at home. So you can take that also in work and in life. But also, what do you have to give to your team, right? Because it's not just a one-way thing. I'm not just going to take. What you get, what you give. Right. So he talks about the more he gave to his team, that he got something back. He used an example, and I know it's kind of materialistic, but he gave his friend who's having a baby some money, as a gift. And then his friend who is a sniper gave him his old scope, which is highly valuable and a really good quality scope. But it just kind of goes to show you take care of your people and they take care of you. Right.
I'm a firm believer, and I'll say this again, I'm gonna make myself sound really old, but the older I get, the more I realize that the more you give, the better you feel. It feels so good, and it always comes back. And I don't mean like monetarily all the time, but it just feels so damn good, you know, to help people. And I'm in a position in the company that I work for to recognize talent and be able to cross train and bring people up. And I think it's especially important in corporate America for women to support women specifically, because
definitely.
women can be such bitches to each other for for no good reason at all, you know, just stupid competition or cattiness or whatever that happens to be. And I'm just really amazed by some of the women who have supported and mentored me, and I'm totally paying that forward, and it feels really good. And it's infectious, you know, it really is.
Definitely. I can relate to that because women have more like an individualistic approach. They want to be alpha this, alpha that, and do things on their own and be the best. But there can be more than one best person. You can be the best at this and you can be the best at that, or you can be good at one thing, and we all can come together as a team and support each other. You know, especially as women. I know, Dave, you're not a woman, but you have a daughter and wife. But it's very important for us, I mean, the whole community, to come together and support each other. And if you're working together, that is pretty much like your work family. You're there most of your day. You know, why bring them down?
So my last job, I led a group of 20 people, and two of my team leaders were females, and they were very competitive in a destructive way with each other. So I had to sit them down and talk to them and let them understand that, hey, you're all in it together. And I put them on a team to where they can start. They actually started a group within the company that were what we called the Women in Science, and they started leading it together, and that forced them to work closer together to make this group successful. That worked out. That, my gosh, they're both were brilliant people individually, but they were clashing and butting heads, and and I understood what was going on. I think I understood anyway. What I do
you understand women? Is that what you're saying?
But so I put them on a common goal, and then they worked so well together, and then that carried over to the rest of the young ladies that were starting their scientific career.
Amazing. It's contagious, definitely, when they're supporting each other. So let's see. He says, each member is an asset and brings something to the table. Went over that. So
can we hit on that for a second?
Yes.
A lot of us, you know, we have our skill set that we are the expert in, and we like to surround ourselves with people that have different skill sets that are better than us in some other things, and that's how you build a better and stronger team. What we're seeing in this pandemic environment, though, we're all disconnected, and then we're having problems with that collaboration. I can't just walk down the hallway and talk with my supervisor right now. He's 195 miles away from me, I think, maybe a little bit more. And so that camaraderie, that relationship building is being affected by the distance. And I think things like this actually help out with that. The podcast that you're having, you can, oh yeah, someone's hearing about that. I'm seeing the same thing.
Right.
Maybe reach out and set up a Zoom meeting that's not for work, but just to hang out and talk for a little bit about it.
You bring up such a great point. I was just doing a research paper on COVID and telework. And that's one of the big deals, is that sense of community and that sense of camaraderie is almost non-existent. If it's not the online meetings, then how do you get in touch with your coworker, right? Especially if you're at home all day, you're teleworking all day, you know, yeah, it definitely takes a toll on your mental health.
Yeah, and the only reason why this job that I work from home now, the company's in Detroit, my boss is in the Philadelphia area. The only reason why it actually works for me is, well, maybe I don't have to work so hard, is we have established that relationship before. We've known each other since 1996, 97, and we trust each other. So that helps with it, and that helps everyone else that has already established some relationship with their teammates. You have some bond, but if it's a little bit difficult if you come into it and not knowing everybody.
Yeah, especially when you're brand new. How do you build that rapport,
Yeah.
So you've
And off the
established
topic of the book,
years.
but,
Right. Right. So
I'll tell
I
you,
mean, go ahead,
not
Monica.
to have like a long segue here, but I work for a corporation that works nationally, and people are all over the place. And especially during COVID, there were a lot of people furloughed for a long time, myself included, for several months last year. We're almost all back full and strong, but the teams have had turnovers, and it's the same sort of epidemic as a result of COVID everywhere, that teams have been transient sort of. But we have, with small and then larger teams, we have virtual happy hours, which has been so good. And
Wow.
because, yeah, so and you don't have to drink, we just call it our virtual happy hour. And we just had one last week that we did college themed, and it opened up a really great conversation topic. It was like icebreakers. Everybody wore some kind of college gear or whatever, and you don't have to have gone to college, but just talking about some location or some place that you identify with after high school, and what kind of person you were then. Like we did what was your favorite drink in college, and everybody was like, whatever anyone else is paying for, and like, what do you drink now? I'm in the restaurant industry, so there was a lot of talk about food and beverage, but it really got us to, even though I've been there almost 5 years and some people have just joined the team, I didn't know that, so and so went to this college or that college, because you don't talk about that stuff when you're on the clock all the time. And it was carved out during work hours, like the last hour of the day, 4 p.m., so it doesn't interrupt with your private life. But it was a great way to just let loose and feel closer to our team members, even though we're not physically together.
That's such a great idea. We should do that for VTT. I tried once. and you speaking
Yeah.
about colleges, I'm wearing my college shirt, Hawaii Pacific
Yay!
University.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's super awesome. I know for my company, when we were at the height of the pandemic with everyone in quarantine and everything was shut down, they started a book club. So we read
cool.
a self-help book, and then it was through phone though. So it was like a phone meeting. I think it was WebEx. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but it wasn't even like online. It was like you dialed in, and then it was like a group chat on the phone, which is super cool. But yeah, that's one of the things he says in the book, is to keep improving, like never stop improving in your life. And then also have those friends or that team friends that you can take constructive criticism from, and learn from them. So you can, what does he say? He says, don't limit yourself to one sport. So don't limit yourself to one team. You can cross train somewhere else, right, Monica? You can cross train with someone else in some other department, or learn what other people do in their jobs. Like, don't limit yourself to just one thing. You can do all kinds of other stuff. And that kind of reminds me of the meme. I shared it on Facebook a few weeks ago before I got banned. It was a meme of Snoop Dogg, and he had one like where he was in India in like the India gear, and then he had one with Hulk Hogan and wrestling gear. Then he had one with Martha Stewart, then with some girl from NCIS, and then he had one where he was dressed as a professor, like just hanging out. Like it's you hang out with all kinds of sort of different people, and you never stop improving your life. You try to do something better, make something better with your life, and don't spend your time being a victim. He talked about that guy who worked super hard to become a chief warrant officer, and then he got shot in the neck and became paralyzed. But that didn't stop him. He had that asset mindset where he still wanted to get better. He had a post saying that he was going to do physical therapy. Now he's married, and he has some sort of organization that helps other people that were like him, and other veterans too. So don't spend your life being a victim, right? So he said that in the other chapters also. So that is chapter 7. And one thing I wanted to ask you guys is, how is being part of a team more powerful than working on your own and doing it on your own? Dave?
Oh, you're so much more efficient as a part of a team. You can delegate or split up the work to whatever you're good at, or whatever you're trying to learn. So if I'm good at something and you want to try it, Len, so I want to let you take those tasks and I'll go off and learn something else. That way we do that cross training. That way we're all trained on everything. And say if you can't be there, the other 2 people or 3 people are part of the team can pick up the slack. You end up being so much more efficient. And then when you're working together, you end up accomplishing more. So
I agree. And I mean, like you're saying, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and you just can draw on the strength of other people that way.
Right. He says to do the dead test, right? So what would happen if you were gone? Is everyone taken care of? Do they know what they're doing? Will they be lost? Will they have a mess to deal with, or would they know exactly where to pick up? So he talks about that in life also. Make sure that your family's taken care of. Do you have life insurance? Do you have medical? Do you have things squared away in case if you're gone, that it doesn't leave them going begging for money or begging to people to help them? And not saying that's a bad thing, but if you plan ahead, you could prevent that. All right.
I personally am preaching long-term care insurance right now because I'm
especially
taking care
during
of
these COVID
my
times.
mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my mother has Parkinson's and dementia, and we just got her into assisted living. I know it's really hard. Just got her into assisted living, and thank God she has amazing long-term care insurance, but it's really expensive. It's super expensive. And I am so grateful that she has it. Now I'm telling all my friends, no matter how old they are, get it now. Because we all think about it's something that I think a lot of us don't think about. Like you want to set your family up for when you die, but what happens before you die?
Right. Mm-hmm.
There might be a long period when grandma can't make decisions for herself, and it costs a lot of money.
Yep.
So I'm learning that way, and it's really daunting to be in charge of someone else's life that way. Anyway, sorry.
That's
to go down that rabbit hole, but that's what I'm dealing with right now. So it's
that's great that your mom planned ahead and has that long-term insurance though, because
yeah, definitely.
I'm 37 and I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. I just heard about it. So now I'm going to go look into it. Right. So that brings us to chapter 8. He says the choices and actions that we take are crucial to the outcomes we experience. Right. So if you make the right decisions, then you're going to have a better experience. So you have to be conscious about that, have continuous motivation about the choices that you make. You must want it. You need to want to actually be better. Because if you don't, and you're stuck in that victim mentality or woe is me, how are you going to get better? So he also talks about you need to some of these are suggestions for asset mindset on how to be a better person and how to improve your mind and clarity. One of them was, he said, early to bed, earlier to rise. Early to bed, earlier to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Right. So if you wake up early, and I know not a lot of people are morning people, but you can
waking up early.
I don't like waking up early, but my body is so used to it that I will wake up at 5 a.m., sometimes 3 a.m., but 5 a.m. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, because I still go to work at 06.
Really?
Yeah, between 06 and 7. So I have a flexible kind of time. So if I'm in work between 06 and 7:30, actually. So I have that. But I like to go into work earlier because I still have to make my hours because I'm still federal, so we still have to do our 40 hours or 80 hours every pay period.
That's so great that that your new job, you can still keep your retirement. That's really great.
I know. It's going to be great. So I was fortunate. Well, here's the thing. I put in 200 applications on USA Jobs for the last year and a half because I was determined to just go. And anybody who knows about federal jobs, it's just so hard to get into the door, even if you're already a federal employee. So if you're in the federal employee, that gets you into the door in your agency. But if you're trying to switch agencies and departments, it's a whole nother ballgame. You're competing with everybody also. And I had 200 applications until I finally started getting interviews and just never quit. But anyway, it transfers over. Yeah, it transfers over. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you make that time for yourself, you get that me time, even if it's in the morning. And a lot of us moms do this. We do me time at night when the kids are asleep, or when you're done with all your responsibilities, you take that time for yourself, because it feels like during the day, your time doesn't belong to you. So you want that time for yourself, right? So he says that's very important. Especially, let's see, he says talking about exercising regularly and making it a priority. So I'm sure he's not saying that you need to be out there and be like a fitness guru or be a muscle man or something, but just what Dave, what you were talking about, going out for golf. That's an activity right there, and it's good for your self-improvement. There's definitely lots of benefits for it. It helps clear and sharpen your mind. It helps burn off stress. It helps you feel more motivated, gives you more energy and more resistant to diseases, makes you more happier. So he talked about if you were going to go to a store and try to buy a better version of yourself, would you do it? Yeah, you can, but you can't do that. So you have to work towards it, right? So he says,
in this chapter, what I liked about this chapter is talk about all the habits that you get into.
Right.
The good ones that you hope you keep, like working out. And this book seems to have say the right thing at the right time when I needed. And I was not in the best of shape. I still am not, but
same.
I started golfing and I started walking and okay. I've got to do this every other day. I've got to either walk 6 miles or I've got to play a round of golf. I have to do that. And you got to make it a priority.
Yep.
And I haven't worn this shirt in about 3 months. It says medium speed, some drag. And when I put it on this morning, I was like, oh, hey, this shirt's longer than I thought it was the last time I put it on. No, I
good for you.
So,
awesome. That's great.
And that's about the only way I noticed it. I was watching the numbers go down on the scale, but he's right. If you get out there and exercise, you feel so much better. Now I stink at golf, but hey, it's better than sitting behind a computer still doing some work at that time of the day.
Hey, I just got home. I'm going to turn off my phone and try to jump on my computer upstairs. I'll be right back.
All right, for sure.
Okay,
bye.
We'll see you soon, Monica.
And it's really important for those that are workaholic, because they're going to be disciplined and in a set routine in order to get their work done. And then they will say, oh, I can do more work.
Right. It gives you more energy.
Adding on, and instead of taking care of themselves. And that was the boat I was in. I was trying to just keep doing more and more. And I was hurting myself more and more by not exercising.
So he's not here to speak for himself, but Kevin Tavers, our very own, has been doing this. He's been keeping the asset mindset. I think he's down like 30 pounds, maybe more, but he's been super active, walking and running and keeping up with his fitness. He feels so much better, like in his mind, like he feels healthier. He's more energetic, and he's like setting an example for VTT because he's so passionate about helping others. So he even said, like, how could I help others if I can't help myself? I have to be, a leader. I have to be an example.
Set the right example.
Right, exactly. So Yeah, for sure. He talks about spend time with people who inspire you and make you want to be successful. So be around positive people who are balloons that lift you up, and stay away from anchors and that crab mentality. And so what Kevin did, he actually made himself the person that he would want to follow, right?
Yeah.
So why would I want to follow somebody if they're not, they're not doing what they need to do? So I give him so much props. Props to you, Kevin. We know you're not here, but we love you. And props to you, Dave, because you're doing a great job too. So I
Thanks.
definitely
I
need to
appreciate it.
get into it. Um, yeah, he definitely talks about the habits. So he says that there's always room for improvement, always room for that, and always take criticism and turn it around to be constructive and not destructive. You're in charge, you're the master of your pages. And I don't know, is that chapter 8 or chapter 9? But create positive habits to pursue our daily goals, keeping up with chapter 8, right? And so he says to make it daily, balance your life. Some days are going to be more productive than others, and that's natural. Don't beat yourself up too much for not having a wonderful productive day. And also take that time to relax, because moments of relaxation also add value. So if you're working constantly and you're busy constantly, Monica, you're working, you're on the go, you're going to the VA, you're at home, you're on VTT book club, you got to take that time for yourself. You need that me time too. So yeah, also talks about
Definitely.
meditating, and I take that as mindfulness. So I actually love yoga. I do yoga. I haven't done it in a couple of months because I had surgery. But I'm gonna get back into it when I move and I get a new studio. But meditation helps clear up your mind and the mind blocks, and it helps you sometimes with past trauma. Those of us that have PTSD, I've gone to some of these meetings online actually during COVID, and they talk about mindfulness. Have that time to meditate to yourself and have gratitude. Have gratitude for what you have, or have gratitude for your life, and be mindful of your your surroundings. And that would help relieve stress and create better focus. And you do meditation to get good at life. You don't do meditation to get good at meditation. He said that in the book also. So
Definitely.
what are some of your best habits that you have, Monica?
Oh, I could say right away I'm a totally dedicated and loyal friend and employee. I think I like a lot of people and a lot of women and a lot of single moms, which is me. We tend to take much better care of everyone else in our lives, and we come last. But I've learned a lot of lessons the last few years about, if mama ain't happy, nobody happy kind of thing.
Right.
To put it much more simply. And I did learn, I've always had a really hard time turning off my brain. Like I thought, oh, I can't meditate, I can't pray, I can't do all this, even in silent prayer in church. I'm like, oh, I'll think about lists of stuff I need to do. And, I don't have time to think about this, that, or the other. But I was sort of forced to, when I reached out, I still do my healthcare through the VA, because I'm really fortunate. The VA gets a bad rap, but the VA does a lot of really amazing things. And living in the Los Angeles area, it's all staffed by UCLA and USC doctors and nurses and staff, and it's stellar healthcare. I mean, they put my shoulder back together. I had like the head of UCLA orthopedics do it. I just came from a post-op appointment for my knee. I had knee surgery 4 months ago. Like I'm like, I'm tip-top shape because of the VA situation here. So I reached out. Sorry, I was like, what was I talking about? So I realized at some point I need therapy, because I haven't dealt with a lot of the stuff from childhood and military trauma that I have had. And the first step in the LA area VA healthcare system is you have to go through an assessment, And then if you're diagnosed with PTSD, the first step before they'll assign you a therapist is to go through PTSD group therapy, which was so damned intimidating and difficult. And I felt like my heart and my stomach were gonna like come out, like you're on the screen with these strangers. And sometimes it's easier with strangers to deal with stuff like that. I think it wasn't as difficult. Everything's always much more difficult when you think about it than doing it. Where was I going with this? What did you ask me?
Show me your
good habits. So good habits. So your good habits.
So the good habits. Okay.
Taking care of
yourself.
You
so
going
much.
To VA,
Thank you.
Taking care of your mental health. Like you're doing it.
Yes.
VA,
so
LA,
one of the things
you guys.
that, yeah, thank you so much. So thanks for getting me back on track. One of the things that the therapist in the group PTSD sessions did was we started with praising each other and also breathing, just sitting with our both feet on the ground and just breathing. And she went into circle breathing and some other stuff, but it was really kind of amazing how much better you feel, and even to the point of being relaxed where you're yawning when you just pay attention to your breathing. And I've learned that in a long story short. Sorry.
That's great. That's a good story, though. It's unfortunate that some cities
really
have terrible.
A few minutes can be hugely beneficial.
Some cities have terrible VAs, but some cities have great VAs. I've learned that in my experience living in 7 different states. So yeah, I haven't gone to the LA VA, but now I want to.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Surely
really
they've definitely improved over the last decade. They have so much more available and so much more stuff for women. And more care, but better quality health care. And I wish I could say that for all the VAs across the board, because there are still going to be complaints. But, as far as I'm concerned, I use a VA also. So, Dave, what's some of your good habits or best habits that you kept or are doing?
Especially since I'm not driving to work at a scheduled time every day, is I have the same routine in the morning. I get up at the same time, whether it's Sunday or Monday or Tuesday. I'm up at 6:15. I'm showered and I go to and whenever I go to work behind a computer in my office, I'm wearing professional attire. It just gets me in the right mindset. And be a little bit more professional. Yes, I could be there in business up top and party at the bottom, whatever you call that now. I don't do that.
Or not.
That helps me, separate work from home. And then when I am done for the day, I close my office and I leave it. I shut down the computer and I leave it. So that is my separation of work from home. Then what other habits I try to get into is, I really don't take myself all that seriously, or try not to have all that big of an ego. It sounds egotistical by saying that. But,
I'm so good at being humble.
The people that have that growth mindset and they're trying to become a better person, they're not going to take themselves all that seriously. 2, by doing that, they're going to take a step back and take a serious look at themselves and try to really understand what is going on, and then within themselves and outside of with what's going on with their environment. And the last habit I try to get into, whenever there are big decisions to be made, I take the emotion out of it. Go through your DMP if you want to call it, or the scientific method, or your a decision-making process that pulls the emotion out. Because if you throw your emotion into it, you're probably going to make the wrong decision, or you get lucky and make the right decision for the wrong reasons. But anyway, those are some of my habits that I try to maintain. And in chapter 8, they say do an AAR, after action review, at the end of every day. Well, I don't quite do that. For the whole day, maybe I do that for work and write down what I need to do for the next day, but I do look at it. Okay, what did I get accomplished for the week? Did I get out and walk as much as why? If I didn't, why didn't I? Or if I walked more, how was I able to get out and walk more? That's just an example. And I do that with my children too. I talk to my wife. I said, what did I do right here? What did I do wrong? Okay, I'll improve. But anyway,
That's amazing. That's all great.
Yeah, you're awesome, Dave.
Yeah, that's all
Fantastic.
like awesome, good habits. I need to do some of that. I feel lazy now, and I, but okay, we're gonna move on to chapter 9. So stop making excuses, Lynn. That's what he starts it off with, right? Stop making excuses in life and start making the changes. So take ownership of your life and focus on training your mind to change in a positive way. Nobody is in the driver's seat of your life but you, right? So, and then he also says, no storm lasts forever. The sun eventually comes out, but just like grass, it needs both the rain and sun to thrive. So we go through storms, and what we could mitigate that. We can plan ahead of time and start making changes that we desire now. So if we plan for the storm, we can try to make it a little bit easier, right? And where we put and spend our energy matters. Where what we focus on. So like Dave said, you at the end of the day, you reflect about what you did. Was it positive? Was it good? Did it help you or not? You know, you're putting that energy to something positive, and it matters. So like I was saying earlier, we're the page master of our own story. We can keep reading the negative pages and keep going over and over it again, or we can turn the page, change the page, and change that story or make it more positive. Some people get stuck in that mindset and don't know that they have that power to change their own mind. So having that awareness, looking within yourself, like what you were saying, Dave, looking within yourself and having that focus to be able to realize, okay, I can make it through this bad situation or this tough situation. And he has several, he brought up several instances where he was in Afghanistan and all that stuff, and how they kept their focus, you know, and what you do in your life, or what you want to do in your life matters. So Dave, you said it when you were talking about your reflections and your good habits. Spend time with yourself, look into yourself, journal it, walk, meditate. Monica, you said it when breathing. So when you start doing those deep breathing exercises, I call them yoga breaths, you know, it helps you kind of get into that meditation mindset. It helps you to look inside yourself, to be able to define yourself. And you, without even knowing it, you know, then you find solutions to your problems, or your problems get a little bit lighter. Like it doesn't feel as much as a burden, you know? So what does he say? Focus matters. What you do, what you want in life. Dream big, but don't be vague. Define your plan. We've talked about this before in the past couple meetings. Set big goals. Set big goals, but how do you get to those goals? Right? You
one
set
step at a time.
one step at a time. You set smaller goals. He talks about doing a backwards plan. So how far is it, or how long is it going to take from point A to point B, and from point B to point C to get to finally where we're going? So that's kind of like setting the small goals, those one step at a time goals. Tell people about your goals, write them down, put them on a calendar, put them on Facebook, put them on social media, put it on your phone. If you have those goals written down, you know, it's more, you have that visual. And he also talks about the satisfaction of crossing off those goals. Right. So
And,
if you,
and one thing about that though, when people say your goal, you're at A, this is your current situation, and this is my goal here, and you think it's a linear stepwise process to get there. If you're going A, B, C, D according to plan, that's great, but don't fight the plan, fight the situation, fight the battle.
right.
So if you go from A to C, back to B, then over to D, or back to C again, and then to D, it's okay. It really is. It's that ultimate, that's that destination that matters.
Yeah, he says talk about a backup plan, right? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Who said that? Mike Tyson. So he says, yeah, plan for those punches, plan for the storm. You know, everyone has a plan, and then all of a sudden you get punched in the face. What you gonna do? You know, so have a backup plan and then have a backup to the backup, right? So he talks about the acronym PACE. Pace yourself. So not only does it mean yes, pace yourself, but P stood for primary, A is alternate, C contingency, and E emergency. Talked about making dinner plans. So the primary point of contact would be phone. If I couldn't get a hold of you by phone, then my alternate would be social media. If I couldn't get a hold of you with social media, then I have a contingency plan and try to get a hold of you through your mom or something. And if it was an emergency, I'd just show up at your door. Right. So he talked about different plans on how to get a hold of something. And that was just like a simple, you know, example, but just having plans for anything, you know, with life, with work, with moving, with school, like even throughout your day. Today I'm gonna mow the lawn. Well, it fucking rained. I'm not gonna mow the lawn. I'm gonna do something else today. You know, I'll fix something in the house or I'll relax.
I think it's important also, especially for younger people. Like my son is 28 and he gets really upset if things don't go on the track that he thought they were going to, but that it's okay. You know, it's not the end of the world. It's not over. It's not so, life isn't delineated by black and white so much.
Right.
It's like, it's okay. Like, and it's okay to feel upset and be depressed and down for a while. That's okay. And that's normal. Just keep going, you know?
Right.
So
It took me a long time to let go of that because I used to be one of those planners where I needed to have every hour of my day planned. This is what we're going to do between this time and this time. And this is what I'm going to do between this time and this time. Like I would be so strict to a schedule that it drove me crazy. And I always had to be perfect. And I had to let go of that and just realize, like, hey, you know, just let it flow. Whatever happens, happens. Like you don't always have to be so strict on certain things. You can chill, you can chillax for a bit, right? So, but he also says that you have to keep your focus and have to keep your motivation. He talked about Dirty and Mr. Airman, right? In the special forces, he asked Mr. Airman if he knew Dirty, and he told the story about Dirty, like, yeah, this guy's a warrior, you know. And so he got shot through the face and then through the shoulder, and then he still kept going and shooting these fools and still kept going. He like wrapped himself up real quick and kept going. He had that motivation, he had that focus, you know, to do what he needed to do, right? So that's a little bit extreme, but having that focus and that situational awareness definitely like will help you. So having the attention to detail about what we need to apply in our lives can help us too. So keeping out a watchful eye out for everything around you, it'll help you be focused so you won't miss any opportunities. So he talks about that fear is something that we have to face. Acceptance and trust. Just because we think something is bad is going to happen, that it doesn't mean that the bad stuff will happen. Right. So you can't always just be like, oh no, I can't do that because it's going to be bad. You actually have to try to conquer that and keep yourself motivated. Right. So have you ever had a time in your life that something negative happened, but you decided to focus on the positive instead?
Sure. I can tell you something that's happening right now.
Yeah, sure.
My director immediate director at work has decided to move on to a different company, and it's happening really quickly. And I'm really upset because she's been an amazing mentor and friend and colleague. And just on a day-to-day, like I spend more time with her, like you're saying, than I do with my family. And she's just been fantastic and dedicated and instrumental in my professional growth. And she is leaving on Friday. And, you know, I spent a day being really depressed and couldn't sleep and oh my God, and all this stuff. And then right away I flipped it around because right over her is our vice president. And I thought, you know what? This means I have a shot at the director position.
Yep.
And I talked to her and I talked to him, and that's where it's headed now. And I just kind of flipped it around. I'm still really going to miss her like crazy. And I'm going to be upset that I can't just call her, all the time during the day. But I immediately took over a bunch of challenges that she's been dealing with, and the past 2 weeks have stepped into that role. So, yeah. So
Amazing, Monica.
I'm working it right now. Yeah.
Steady
So
moving on up.
that's yes. Thank you.
Like, bye,
And,
but thanks, I'll take your job.
Thank you. I have I have an 8 a.m. call tomorrow morning with the VP and HR. So I'm like,
oh my gosh,
well,
that's amazing.
let you know what happens.
Those little business cards paid off.
Yes, they did.
That's right. So, Dave, if you didn't watch the first episode, Monica made business cards for her future. What did it say on it? Manager?
I went into a management position.
And she wasn't management yet when she made those cards.
I ordered the cards before I was actually promoted, and I'm not a lunatic, so I didn't put them on my desk, but
yeah, but it's motivation.
But I had them in there, and the moment I was promoted, I was like, bam, here's my car.
Oh, by the way.
But I was like, there wasn't a doubt in my mind that it was going to happen. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy these cards. And
yeah, you manifest.
So if I make my business cards to say retired on it.
There you go.
There you manifest it into destiny.
Right. There you go. Exactly.
But good job, Monica. That's good. I mean, that's okay. At some point, I want to be able to use this card, and you set that goal.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now you're going to be the director soon.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. So,
Dave, did you have something to add?
So something negative that I turned into positive. Whatever I decided to go back to school and get my MBA, I was working way too much. I was working somewhere between 70 to 80 hours a week, and I just was not feeling well. I didn't get a promotion, and I thought that I had deserved, and I said, you know what? Why didn't I get the promotion? And I stepped back and said, analyze the situation, try to pull the emotion out of it, but I wasn't very successful. But I said, you know what? Let's do a career switch. And then maybe I'm not cut out to be doing what I'm doing. And I went back to school to get the MBA. I mean, it took a lot of work. I was still working those crazy hours while trying to get a MBA at one of the top schools in the country, but it's paid off in the long run.
Oh yeah,
that's great.
You're determined, motivated, change your career. You know, you got that degree. You're pissed off. You're like, I'm getting this degree and I'm leaving you guys.
Whatever does it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the person that ended up getting the promotion, he's absolutely miserable now. So it worked out for the better for me.
Yeah. Well, I have a situation, and I know a lot of military people can relate, and military spouses can relate. When you move to a location that you absolutely do not want to go to, but you have to go, like, yeah, it's negative. Like, oh my God, I'm in the middle of America. I'm in Oklahoma. What's here? I have no family here. There's more cows than there are people. What the? I'm not kidding. Like, that's a fact. It's a Snapple fact. But I still don't like this place, but I do, go out and explore. I went to explore the city. I got to know the history. I know about the run of 18, whatever it is, where they went out to go get the land for themselves. That's where Sooner Boomer came from, that word, so I take time to learn about the city that I'm living in, the new place that I'm in. Take time to learn about the food, about the culture, about their festivals, about what's fun to do, but when you move from New Orleans and you come to Oklahoma, it's definitely like not as much culture as over there. So, but in any rate, when you go to a new place, even to a new job, you're the new person, it might be a negative thing, but you can take it as a learning experience. So you learn and you try to make the best you can out of it. And so that's my story of making something negative into positive, and I'm finally leaving. Yay. I'm going to Florida.
Yay, good for you.
So I'm excited
Cool.
about that. And then he had some
Oh, hey, pup.
questions that we don't have to answer, but we'll leave off with the audience who's viewing with these questions. How do we know what we need to change in our lives? How do we initiate that change we want? And how do we focus and stay focused and make it happen? Right? So it's all with the asset mindset. So if you read that book, you'll figure it out, right? All the answers are there. I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Do you guys have anything, final words to say? Dave, any final words?
In chapter 7, one of the what he wrote about if he's getting out of the military because of the family, you're being loyal to the lifelong team. And I felt guilty for a very long time for retiring when I did. I felt like I was abandoning my team, my military family, my military team, but it was because of my wife and my children. So I never even really thought about it. And I always, until I tried to put it in the back of my mind, and I even think about that, why I got out. And when I read that, it really helped me provide.
Yeah, it resonated.
That's good.
Sorry, I think that's me. Yeah, that really resonated with me too, because you're leaving your temporary team, because the Army or military only lasts for so long, for you to go to your lifelong team, a lifelong commitment, and that's honorable. Monica, anything? Last words from you? Favorite parts from the book?
No, it's been really fun to read so far. I read the book pretty quickly, but it's good to go back and read it more meaningfully, more intentionally. And I really appreciate being able to get together with you guys.
Thank you. And I appreciate getting with y'all too, even if it's just 2 of us, 3 of us, or even if I would have done this by myself. But I'm so grateful for you guys. Oh, thank you. I'm so grateful for you guys. I know Kevin is, the VTT family is. And I'm going to go ahead and close this out. You guys that are watching, thank you so much for tuning in. We air on Sunday evenings. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Check out VTT on Facebook, Veteran Trash Talk, veterantrashtalk.com. Subscribe to me and my podcast, Throat Punch Mondays, and subscribe to this one. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
All right.
Bye. Thanks. Bye.